Okay, let's practice. Let's complete practice exam number 3, the last one. Configure task number 1. Configure Excel to save auto recovery information every 7 minutes. Again, it doesn't refer to any specific tabs or cell range. That means it's a general information that will be found under options. And click save. Because here every 10 minutes, we're changing it to 7. We're gonna click OK. And we completed task 1. Task number 2. Format the cell range B11 to F43 to display data to 2 decimal places using the Canadian Accounting Format, or CAD. So let's minimize this and maximize our Excel spreadsheet. So B11 to F43. Let's click on our little arrow. We need accounting format, 2 decimal places, and symbol has to be CAD. Okay. Task number 2 is done. Task number 3. Populate the date column, so this column, row 11 through 43 using a weekday date series with a step value of 1. So let's select the highlighted range, B11 to F43. We're going to use a fill series columns, date. It's specifically asking for weekdays, so we're going to click weekdays and a step value of 1, and we're going to click OK, and it's populating all the weekdays for our rows. Completed. Task 4. Copy the macro from the old ledger workbook to this daily ledger workbook. Apply the macro to cell B44 to F44. So it's going to be B44 to F44. Okay, great. So first we need to open the old ledger. So let's see, there we go, old ledger. And we know that we need to go to a developer tab and we need to go to Visual Basic to see what Visual Basics represents in this old ledger worksheet. We can see that there is a module, module 1. This module does not exist in the daily ledger worksheet that we're working in, so we just have to drag it to ours. So we just did that, so we're going to exit. And we're going to highlight the rows that we need to apply this format to. We're going to go to the developer tab, we're going to click on macros. We're going to run the one that we just copied, and we're done. Task 5. Protect the workbook so users cannot add, delete worksheets. Again, just a general information. We have to go to File, Info, click on our little arrow. Again, adding sheets. Type in the password. Click OK. Password. Click OK. Mark as completed. Task 6. Save this workbook into the Gmetrix templates as macro-enabled template named Ledger. So, File, Save As, click here. So we need to save this as a ledger. We need to save it as the macro-enabled template. And we need to save it. So we already have our name on display. Now we have to go to Documents, Gmetrix Templates, and just click Save. That's it. We're done. Let's move on to the next project. Task 1. On the Salaries worksheet, apply a conditional formatting rule to the salary column. that displays a green flag when the value is greater or equal to 90K, a yellow flag when the value is between 70 and 90,000, and a red flag when the value is under 70,000. The formatting should be applied to new and existing rows in the column. So if it's new and existing rows in the column, we're going to have to highlight the whole column. We know that we need to go to the conditional formatting rule, and we're going to click on the icon sets, and we need the flags. Oh, actually, we're going to make sure, let's clear rules from this table. Now let's redo this again. So we need new rule. Oh, no, we need conditional formatting, icon sets, more rules, because we want specific rules. And then icon sets, flags. We need the type has to be a number. And value, first value, green flag 90,000, yellow between 90 and 70,000, and red if it's below 70,000. I'm going to click OK. And now it's completed. Task 2. Delete the macro named header color. So macros are all in the developer tab. So let's go to macros, head color, and we need to delete it. Done. Task 3. On the MCT fees, format the data in cell B4 to E4 as Euro without a specific language or region. Do not create a custom format. So we know we need to go to home, click on the little arrow, and symbol has to be a Euro. Where is Euro? Let's look for Euro. Yeah, so we found Euro, and it has to be nothing with a specific country or region. So we're going to click OK, and we've completed this task. Task number 4. Configure the default body font size to 12. Again, doesn't refer to specific tab or cell ranges. So we know we have to go to File, More, Options. Let's go to General, Body Font, 12. Click OK. And we're done. Task 5. On the 2016 Office Masters worksheet, add a formula to the Master column here that displays qualified if the candidate has completed certification on all 3 required exams: Word Expert, Excel Expert, and PowerPoint, plus one of the following elective exam: Access or Outlook. If all of the qualifications have not been met, leave the cell blank. As soon as we see the word if, we know that the last formula will have to be if formula. But first we need to build out our logic test. So with this, we know that we need an AND formula because we need Word Expert, Excel, PowerPoint, and one of the Access or Outlook. But Access or Outlook indicates that we need first an OR formula. So let's do this. Equals OR tab. Let's open our little logic window. So logic number 1, we need Access, which is C3, has to equal to this X sign, which is true. And then Outlook, which is F3, has to equal to X2. So we're going to click OK. So this is our first. We're going to cut it, and now we're going to create AND formula. Again, a tab, open our function argument window. So logic number 1, Word Expert which is, let's do just I3 equals this, then Excel Expert, which is E3, has to equal X, and PowerPoint which is G3 has to equal X. And then logic number 4, we have to paste our existing formula or Access or Outlook. I'm going to click OK. We're going to copy our logic formula. And the last formula we need is if formula. So our logic test, we're just pasting in because we already built out our logic, and value if true, it says qualified, and value if false, leave blank. So we just have to leave the quotation marks. Click OK, and we have completed this task. On the week 1 specials, in cell D10, insert a formula that displays true if the inventory for bread, milk, and eggs is more than 100, or the inventory of apples and banana is more than 100. Do not use an if function. You know how I said as soon as you see the word if, it's an if formula, but here specifically it says we cannot use this formula. So we know that we need to use and formula because it has to be bread, milk, and eggs, or the inventory of apples and bananas. So let's build out an and formula first. So equals, and open our little window, and it says bread, milk, and eggs. So bread has to equal more than 100. Milk has to be more than 100. And eggs have to be more than 100. So this is our first set of rules. Let's copy the formula. And now we can build out our OR formula. So tab, function, logic number 1 is bread, milk, and eggs have to be more than 100. Or, let's delete this equal sign. Or apples, which is G5. So we're going to replace C5 with G5. And there's only 2 conditions. So we're going to delete the middle one. And bananas, I. So we'll replace E with I. I'm going to click OK. That's it. We're done. On the week 1 special worksheet in cell C3, use the HLOOKUP function to determine the sales price for any item selected from the drop-down list in cell C2. So HLOOKUP just means a horizontal lookup because we'll be looking up value in the horizontal table instead of a vertical table. So let's type in HLOOKUP tab, open up our little function argument window. What are we looking up? We're looking up this item. Where are we looking milk? We're looking up milk in this table, and we need sales price, which is located 1, 2, 3 in the 3rd row. And we want an absolute exact match, which means we have to write false. $2, and it's correct. Completed. Consolidate the average prices from the week 1 special, week 2 special, week 3 special onto the weekly special summary worksheet. For cell ranges C6 to K6, configure the consolidation so the data is automatically updated if the source data changes. Okay, so we need to highlight this and we need to go to data because it says right here, consolidate data. And we click on the word consolidate, and it says we need average prices. So we have to change this to average. And we need to average prices from here. Let's add this from week 2. Let's highlight this and add this. And from week 3. and end. So now we have week 1, week 2, week 3, and it says we need to create links to source data. So the data is automatically updated if any of the 3 tabs change their value. We're going to click OK, and we're done. Task 4. On the manager salaries, enable the formula auditing tool that identifies the data that was used to calculate the result in cell H8. H8. In the precedent cell in the manager salaries table, change the text color to red. So here it actually tells us to use precedent. It already gives us a hint. So we have to go to formulas. In the formula auditing, there's trace precedence. And it says in the precedent cell, in the manager salaries table, so this is a manager salaries table, change the text color to red. So we have to go to home, have to click here, and we have to do color red, mark as completed. Task 5. On the manager salaries worksheet, use the formula auditing, so formula auditing tool that will help you determine why cell G6, so cell G6 is empty. Correct the problem. So let's evaluate this formula and see what is wrong. Let's click evaluate. And it says that cell F6 is being multiplied by 0. And of course, if you multiply something by 0, it will be 0. So something wrong with the B18. Let's look at the other formulas. It says B13 times F4. So we need to click to B13 and we fix the formula. Great project. Task 1. In cell H28 on the flavor costs, so H28 on the flavor cost worksheet, insert a formula to calculate the total profit of all ice cream flavors that cost $2 or more to produce and sold less than 200 quarts. So we need to use some ifs because it's not just summing, it's some ifs with some conditions. Let's open our little. So what are we summing? We need a total profit. So where's our total profit column? There's our total profit column. It's H4 to H, oops, to H26. What is our criteria? The first criteria that the cost has to be $2 or more. So cost is located in column C4 to C26, and it has to be more or equal to $2. Then it has to be sold less than 200 quarts. So sales, it means E4 to E26, and it has to be less than 200. We're going to click OK. $2,139. Task 2. In cell B30, on the flavor cost worksheet, insert a function that will display the flavor for any code selected from the drop-down list in cell A30. So this is a VLOOKUP function because we're just looking it up vertically. Let's open our little window. What are we looking at? We're looking up this code. Where are we looking this up? We're looking this up in these 2 columns. We just need the flavors. Column index number is 2 because we need a flavor, and range lookup has to be exact, which means fault. And we're going to click OK, and it's Fruit Heaven Splurge. Task 3. On the flavor cost worksheet, name the flavor costs per quart table flavor costs. So as I said, as soon as you hear the word table, we have to click on the table. We have to go to table design, and we have to type in flavor. We can't do any spaces, so we have to add an underline. Costs and hit enter. We're done. Task 4. Save the chart on the flavor costs. So this is the chart as a template. So we know, oops. Okay. Save as a template named flavor chart. Flavor chart. Okay, let's find our name. Documents, GMatrix template to save. Mark is completed. Task 5. On the analysis worksheet, change the settings for the pivot table to show the values row. Change the settings. So settings usually right click and let's go to pivot table options, display, show the values rows. Click OK. Mark as complete. Great project. Task number 1, add a linear trend line to the chart on computer sales worksheet. This is the chart. Click on this chart that forecasts sales of notebook computers into the months beyond December. So when clicked on the chart, we have to go to chart design. We have to add an element, which is a trend line, and we need a linear forecast, specifically for notebook. Let's click OK. Let's see. And mark as completed. Task number 2. On the pivot table and pivot chart worksheet, add a slicer to the pivot table. So add a slicer. So now we have to go to the pivot table, analyze, insert slicer, category column, and apply the slicer style dark. So slicer styles, let's click on the arrow, dark 4, and place it below the pivot chart. So we have to place it. Let's minimize this, maximize this below the pivot chart. And we're done. Task 3. On the pivot table and pivot chart worksheet, group the category below each store location. So let's minimize this. Let's maximize this. We need store location and it has to be, category has to be below. So we're just going to drag it down to display that. Completed. Task 4. Hide all the filled buttons on the pivot chart. So let's click on the pivot chart. Let's look at the pivot table, analyze, fill buttons. Let's click on the arrow and click hide all. Mark as completed. Task 5. Apply style 12 to the pivot chart. Let's click on the pivot chart. Let's click on the design, styles, and we need style number 12. This is style 13. This is style 12. Let's click on that. Mark as completed and great project. Finish test. Yes. And we're a superstar. This is how you complete practice test number 3.